Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm starting a new series here on my channel that I am so unbelievably excited for. Today's video is kicking off my project pan. I am so excited for this. Project pans have definitely been picking up popularity in recent months, and I think that just comes along with like a new culture of conscious consumerism, and I'm trying to be more of a conscious consumer this year, even though I 100% completely failed at that in January. But I'm making some different changes for February, so hopefully I can like kind of get back on track with my whole conscious consumerism 2021. So if you don't know what a project pan is, a project pan is basically a little makeup project where you pick some items from your collection and attempt to pan them. If you don't know what panning is, it is when you are attempting to either use up a product completely or use up some sort of product until you can see the bottom of the pan in it. And I love watching project pans. I think that they are so much fun. Rebecca Morgan is one of my favorite YouTubers, and she's basically the queen of project pans. And I was just super inspired by her and a bunch of other people that I follow to start my own project pan, and I have my own little set of rules that I created for myself, and I'm going to tell you those rules and then show you the products that I have pulled for this first month. So the rules that I have set for myself is, first of all, I'm not going to be keeping each product in this project until I hit pan on it. So I have so much makeup, and a lot of my products I'm like basically nowhere close to hitting pan on. And if I were to like keep, for example, the powder products that I have pulled for this collection in the project until I hit pan on it, it would seriously take me so long because I'm just nowhere close to hitting pan. So I'm hoping that once I like continue cycling through these enough that eventually I will start hitting pan on stuff. But to start, I'm basically just setting myself usage goals. So a usage goal is basically just that, a goal of how much you want to use. So for myself, all of the products in this, I'm setting a usage goal of 20 times in 1 month, which personally I think is really attainable for myself. So for example, for the powder cheek product, I want to use it 20 times before I roll something else into the project. And that's basically the only rule I have set for myself. So the way that I chose these products is, you're gonna think I'm crazy. I actually went through my entire collection, and once again, this is the way that I choose my products for my Shop My Stashes. Put every single product into an app that like randomly selects things for you. And I didn't put them all into one category. I put all my makeup categories into a category, selected 4 of those. The 4 categories that I selected were bronzer, eye primer, lip gloss, and concealer, and then I went to those categories and then again selected those. And so the different types of products that I have in the project will be changing every month. But then I will also have 3 different eyeshadows that I'm working on. And those could be powder eyeshadows, they could be matte, shimmers, metallics, pressed glitters, they could be literally anything. And I actually went through every single palette in my collection and inserted every single shade into another category, and it ended up being like 600 eyeshadows. Like, when I saw that and when I realized how many eyeshadows I had, I was like, you never need to buy another palette. And then what did I do? Like, immediately bought 2 more palettes. But that's besides the point. So that is how I randomly selected all the products in this project. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the products that I pulled. Let's start with the 4 like non-eyeshadow products. So the first one that we'll talk about is the bronzer, and it is actually my Wander Beauty Trip for 2 blush and bronzer duo, and I'm only going to be focusing on this bronzer. This bronzer is called Tulum, and it is a pretty deep looking bronzer in the pan. Like, you see it and you're like, wow, that is way too deep a bronzer for you. And honestly, like, when you first watch it, it's like, wow, that's so deep. But if I apply this like pretty lightly and really blend it out, it looks really nice. So I kind of just put a little bit more there and like really blended it out with my finger, and it looks really nice. So I'm excited to kind of focus on that bronzer, and it does seem to be kind of like a drier bronzer formula, but I don't think I mind that in this product at all, and I really enjoy this bronzer and I like the way that it makes my skin look, so I'm excited to be focusing on that. Next we have eye primer, and I only have 3 products that I use as eye primers. 2 are actual eyelid primers and then 1 is a concealer. And so I was kind of like not upset, but just like really I had to pull eye primer my first round here, but it is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Eye Base. I actually had this in my Shop My Stash last month and already got pretty good use out of it. I will insert close-up pictures of all these products so I know like you literally can't see it when I hold it up here, but I did get pretty good use out of it and there is a good dent going in it, but I actually really do enjoy this as an eyeshadow primer. It's so strange because it's like this really creamy, like almost like eye cream formula, but then when you blend it out it does like kind of set down and it doesn't provide any sort of coverage, so it doesn't cancel out any discoloration you have on your eyelids or any veins, but I really enjoy it. It doesn't leave my eyelids feeling dry and crusty and flaky, because with some eyeshadow primers that I've used in the past, I definitely found my eyelids looking drier and like flaky purely because of the primer that I was using, and this does not do that at all. The next 2 products that I have here are kind of funny because one of them was in my last 2 Shop My Stashes and then the other one is in my current Shop My Stash. So the first one that I have is the Morphe lip gloss in the shade Frose. This is a really gorgeous light, almost like, I think at one point it was like a clear base with just a bunch of pink shimmers in it, but I've used it so much at this point, like over lipsticks, that it definitely has turned more of like a pinky color, but I think at one point it was basically clear. And this is a really gorgeous lip gloss, and I actually really do enjoy the Morphe lip gloss formula. I'm just not a huge fan / supporter of Morphe. I'm not actively buying anything from Morphe. I'm not actively showing my support for them, so I would actually love to be able to use this up, and I have used like quite a bit of it. Like you can actually see basically through the entire tube, so it would be really awesome if I could use this up. And this is the one that was in my last 2 months Shop My Stashes. The very last non-eyeshadow product that we're going to talk about is the Maybelline Master Conceal Camouflaging Concealer. I have mine in the shade 10 Fair, and this is the product that is actually in my current month's Shop My Stash. So I might honestly just use this 20 days in a row just to get it out of there and then use it until it's gone. I've had this and this Morphe lip gloss for such a long time, and it's definitely time for them to move on from my collection. This is basically gone anyway, so I definitely think that I probably will be able to use it up within my 20 uses, but I'm actually so excited to be focusing on this. It is the concealer that I'm wearing today, and I want it to move on from my collection. It's time for this to go. So now we are going to talk about the 3 eyeshadows, and let's just jump right into it. So the 3 palettes that they came from are my Milk Cosmetics 420 palette, my Kathleen Lights X Colourpop So Jaded palette. Funnily enough, another Morphe product, the Morphe 39, oh no, this is the Morphe James Charles palette. Little funny story about these 3 eyeshadows I chose. So I actually had a different Morphe palette in place of this James Charles palette, and I was trying to depot the eyeshadow in it to put into my palette of singles, just because I thought that it would be a lot easier than having like 3 full-size palettes sitting out on my desk. So I was trying to depot the eyeshadow and it completely shattered it, and I was like, well, that's really unfortunate. But I was kind of excited because originally all 3 shades were like basically the same shade of matte brown, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll get like a shimmer, maybe I'll get something a little bit more fun and exciting. So I randomly selected another palette, and it ended up being another big Morphe palette, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna shatter the eyeshadow again. And that's exactly what I ended up doing. It didn't like shatter as bad as the first one, but it definitely still broke. But because it is my James Charles Morphe palette and it's like a limited edition palette and I don't support Morphe, so it's not like I could repurchase it and I don't even know if they still sell it, I was like, I'm gonna fix this eyeshadow. So I guess that's the first eyeshadow we will start with. The first shadow is the shade Brother from the Morphe James Charles palette, and you can see it's still wet from me repressing it. Let me see if I can like try to do some sort of, yeah, it's not gonna swatch right now because it's absolutely wet. You know, I might have actually ruined this shadow because instead of like getting up to go get my rubbing alcohol, I just used like my Milani Make It Last setting spray, and I was like, you know, it has alcohol in it, like it should be fine, but it's really not looking like the best. And because I just tried to swatch it, it's looking like it has some hard pan now, so we might have to roll another eyeshadow in tomorrow and see where this one ends up. But this is technically the shade that I pulled. If I do end up having to get rid of this and roll in another eyeshadow, I will definitely leave a little note in the description box on what that new eyeshadow is, and we will talk about it in next month's Project Pan update. So the next shade that we have is the shade Geodude from the Kathleen Lights X Colourpop So Jaded palette, and I kind of love these other two singles that I have because they actually go together really well. So this shade is kind of like a more mustardy. Alright, so Geodude, gave it a little swatch here. Sorry, I got interrupted by a call from Brad, so I don't really know where I left off. Here's Geodude. So Geodude is this really gorgeous kind of mustardy toned matte brown, and this has always kind of been a standout shade in the So Jaded palette for me personally. I think it is so gorgeous, and I love these like mustard tones. And I say that it kind of works perfectly with the next shade because then we have the shade from the Melt Cosmetics 420 palette, and that is the shade Dank, and this is like an olive toned matte brown. And so I just think that on the eye they will look really good together, and like quite honestly swatched out they are pretty similar, but this is Dank down here and that's Geodude, and you can definitely see that Dank has a little bit more of a green tone to it, but I just think that I could make some good all matte brown looks, and that I can incorporate these into a lot of looks as well, even if it's just like in the crease on the lower lash line, something like that, you know. So I'm actually very glad that I chose these two because I just think that they will work well together. And then of course we have our little weird Morphe shadow over here. I don't know what's gonna happen with that, quite honestly, but now I know for next time. Maybe don't depot your Morphe shadows, Emily. I think that is it for this video. I am super excited to start creating looks with all of these products, and I'm excited to keep track of my uses and, you know, the whole Project Pan experience. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you will give it a thumbs up before you go and consider subscribing as well, and hopefully I will see you in my next one. Bye!